Hello again. 4 of South Africa's cities are on the world's most violent. The Mexican Council for Public Security and Criminal Justice identifying Cape Town in 11th place, Gqeberha at 23, Durban 35, and Johannesburg at 48th. These rankings are based on the number of murders per 100,000 people. I mean, it's not a list any city should be on. We are joined to discuss this by Gqeberha, criminologist and lecturer at Stellenbosch University. Guy, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. I mean, we see this list now and again. You don't want to be in it. I mean, to see that 4 of our cities that we love so much are in this top 50, the most violent cities in the world, I mean, it cannot be pleasing at all.
That's not pleasing, but it's something certainly we've been seeing for more than 10 years now. You know, certainly in the city of Cape Town, it's had a problem with gang violence, interpersonal violence that's been driving up the murder rate. So let's just be clear in terms of this index, this list that's been put together. It's using murder. It's not using all violent crime. It's using murder, and it's using that as an indicator of whether it's dangerous or not. Of course, murder has very different dynamics to many other kind of crimes that we have, but nonetheless they've chosen murder. And I think the important thing is this organization is really, it's a Mexican organization that's trying to demonstrate how violent crime is in Mexican cities compared to other cities. So they've looked at all other cities throughout the world where there is data, and then they compared it. So I think the thing is, you know, it's not good that we have 4 cities on that list, obviously not. And crime has been increasing in many of those cities. But certainly we're not in the levels of the Mexican cities, fortunately.
Yes, fortunately. And then they compare that, as you correctly said. And it may not be, as you say, a precise tool for comparison, but it just gives an indication of how serious it is, murder is in these places. I mean, does it match up with our crime stats from what you know, Guy?
Oh, yes, it does. I mean, so what an organization called the South African Cities Network, it has an urban safety reference group, and it uses South African Police Service crime data. And, you know, over the number of years, it's brought out an annual report. And what it's done, it's taken the police data and calculated city murder rates. So the most recent one should probably be coming out quite soon, and will, you know, have very similar data to this. So this Mexican council has used SAP's data to calculate this. So certainly the rates are fairly accurate from sort of historical trends. I mean, the issue here is, we know both in the city of Cape Town and both in Nelson Mandela Bay, Gqeberha, is that it's largely driven by gun violence. We know that's a big push factor, and of course groups that are using guns, whether they're gangs or they're other organized criminal groups, then of course it's availability of firearms in these cities. But of course, you know, there are other weapons that are used in crime, but it's those cities are the big worry. Of course, then we look at eThekwini and we look at the city of Johannesburg as well, not as severe as Cape Town and not as severe as Nelson Mandela Bay, but certainly in these areas it's about gang violence, and it's the same in many of the Mexican cities. It's organized violent crime, access to firearms, access to ammunition that drives up the violent crime rates. But of course, we really need to note that it's, you know, this is the rate for the entire city. And, you know, cities in South Africa, there are areas that are fairly safe and areas that are not. So if you were to look at the city of Cape Town, for example, there are about 10 policing precincts that account for most of that murder.
Yeah, and the police minister this afternoon, as we speak, is engaging with the Khayelitsha Development Forum. My colleague Nobesutu Ejana, we spoke to a short while ago and spoke to the local representative there of that development forum. They are really hoping to try and get rid of these killings. I mean, just the other day, on the 14th of this month, 5 people were shot dead in Khayelitsha, and this past weekend, 6 people shot dead at Enkanini Informal Settlement. So you're quite right there. But I mean, for a country that's trying to recover from all kinds of challenges in the economic space and then the social ills, the levels of violent crime would have to be concerning. And we're having an outgoing police commissioner, Ketla Stole, who's been criticized left, right, and center. We have a police intelligence, crime intelligence buying equipment that's worth more than 100 million rand, and it's sitting and gathering dust and is not being used at all, and it was not even procured properly. So we're sitting with a real problem on how to effectively deal with crime. So when we in the media see this kind of list that come out, we stand up and say, wow, it's just not good. Things are not looking good at all. So hopefully the new police commissioner will be a person who's capable and who's qualified and who's somebody who's a career officer who can begin to start, you know, the process of making sure that we're safe.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a massive opportunity, fresh leadership coming in, hopefully with some new ideas, able to inspire police, especially at the station level, because we found in places like Khayelitsha, it's incredibly difficult for the police to police. I mean, it's a very daunting task. It's quite a depressing task, particularly when you're dealing with mass killing after mass killing, as we've seen in recent weeks. And then you sort of struggle to get residents to sometimes cooperate with you, either because they don't trust you or because they're scared for their lives. So it's certainly for the police is a very frustrating place at the moment, and I think it is time for new leadership. So hopefully we do have a really strong candidate who's able to provide the necessary leadership going forward.
Yeah, none of us would want to be in the shoes of Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa as he makes that presidential decision of he's going to put in that hot seat. Guy Lam, thank you very much, as always, for your insights. It's a pleasure having you here on Today on ENCA DSTV channel 403.